Victory can be dangerous when it humiliates an empire that does not know how to forgive. Star Wars Episode 6 Return of the Jedi begins with the rebellion preparing for its biggest gamble yet. Luke Skywalker is no longer the uncertain boy from Tatooine, but he still carries the heaviest question of all. Can Darth Vader be saved, or is the dark side the only future left for his father? While armies move toward one final confrontation, Luke is pulled into a more intimate war that will decide who wins the galaxy and what kind of man he becomes. The story begins with one unfinished wound from the last movie. Han Solo is still frozen in carbonite and hanging on the wall of Jabba the Hutt palace as decoration for a gangster who enjoys turning suffering into entertainment. The heroes are no longer improvising their way through danger. They are planning, trusting each other, and taking risks with purpose. First comes C-3PO and R2-D2, sent into Jabba Palace as part of the larger attempt. Then Luke Skywalker arrives indirectly through a message, offering a final chance for Jabba to hand Han over peacefully. Jabba refuses because cruelty makes him feel powerful, and because underestimating heroes is something villains in this saga keep doing. Leia Organa enters disguised as a bounty hunter and manages to deliver Chewbacca as a prisoner, buying herself away inside. Once the palace settles into sleep, she frees Han from the carbonite block, but before they can escape, they are caught. Han has only just been thawed and can barely see. Leia is exposed. The mission turns into another trap. Then Luke arrives in person. This moment matters because it shows how far he has come. He walks in calm, dressed in black, more controlled than before and clearly more powerful in the Force. He tries once more to avoid violence, but Jabba has no interest in mercy. Luke is dropped into a pit with a monster and forced to fight for survival. He wins, but that still does not free him or his friends. Instead, Jabba sends Luke, Han, and Chewbacca out to die publicly in the desert at the Great Pit of Carkoon. The rescue reaches its real peak there. Jabba expects spectacle and humiliation. What he gets is a full reversal. Luke reveals his lightsaber, R2 launches it to him, and the whole group explodes into action at once. Leia, Han, Chewbacca, Lando Calrissian, and Luke all take part in the fight. Han is still half blind and stumbling, but still brave. Leia is fierce and decisive. Lando proves his loyalty under pressure. Luke moves with a confidence that would have felt impossible in the first film. Jabba Empire collapses in minutes, and Leia ends it by killing the man who tried to own her. With Han rescued, the focus shifts back to the larger war. The Rebel Alliance has learned that the Empire is building a second Death Star, even larger and more dangerous than the first. It is not yet fully operational, but the Empire is protecting it heavily near the forest moon of Endor. Worse, the Emperor himself is traveling there, which tells the rebels this is their best chance to strike. If they destroy the battle station and kill the Emperor in one attack, the whole war could turn. Before that mission begins, Luke returns to Dagobah to see Yoda one last time. He needs answers, and he needs confirmation about the revelation that shattered him in the last movie. Yoda, weak and dying, confirms that Darth Vader truly is Luke's father. He also tells Luke there's another Skywalker. After Yoda dies, Obi-Wan's spirit appears and explains the truth that Luke's twin sister is Leia. Luke now understands that the war is not just political for him. The sister he has fought beside, the father he fears, and the enemy he may have to kill are all tied together. This is where Luke's inner conflict becomes the heart of the movie. Everyone around him sees the mission in military terms: destroy the station, defeat the Empire, end the war. Luke knows another battle is hiding inside that one. He believes there is still good in Vader. Obi-Wan and Yoda do not encourage that hope. They speak as if Vader is already lost and must be destroyed. Luke cannot fully accept that. The rebellion launches its plan. Han leads a strike team to Endor with Leia, Luke, Chewbacca, R2, and C-3PO. Their objective is to destroy the shield generator protecting the Death Star so the main rebel fleet can attack. Lando, now fully trusted, takes command of the Millennium Falcon in the larger space battle. Once on Endor, the heroes immediately run into trouble. Imperial scouts spot them and the chase through the forest begins. Luke and Leia race through giant trees on speeder bikes at deadly speed while Han and the others try to keep up. The sequence is fast and dangerous, but it also leads to an important quiet turn. Leia crashes and is separated, and Luke goes after her. In that pause away from the group, he finally tells her the truth. Vader is his father and she is his sister. Leia absorbs this with calm because part of her has already felt the bond between them. The Endor mission soon becomes more complicated when the heroes discover they are not alone in the forest. They encounter the Ewoks, a small tribal people who at first seem almost comic compared to the size of the war around them. But the movie uses that contrast cleverly. The Empire sees little creatures and assumes weakness. Yet the Ewoks know the terrain, defend their home fiercely, and prove that underestimating the small is one of the Empire's greatest habits. Before the battle on Endor fully erupts, Luke makes the most dangerous choice of the movie. He leaves his friends and surrenders himself to Vader. He does this because he believes Vader can still be turned, or at least because he refuses to let the final meeting be decided by ambush and gunfire. When Luke is brought before Vader, their conversation is quiet but tense. Luke insists there is conflict in him. Vader denies it, but not with full conviction. The armor, voice, and cruelty are still there, but cracks in certainty are beginning to show. Vader brings Luke to the Emperor on the Death Star. Emperor Palpatine is not like Vader. Vader is force, pain, and obedience. The Emperor is manipulation. He does not need to overpower Luke physically because he wants something more interesting. He wants Luke to choose darkness for himself. He wants to take the hope, anger, and fear inside Luke and turn them into a new servant. Meanwhile, the military side of the plan begins to fail. The rebel fleet jumps in expecting an incomplete battle station, but the Death Star is fully armed and operational. It fires and destroys rebel ships almost immediately. At the same time, Han Team reaches the shield bunker only to discover they have walked into a trap. Imperial troops are waiting. The doors close, blasters come up, and the strike team is pinned down in one devastating turn. The rebellion learns it has been anticipated on every front. This is what makes Return of the Jedi so effective in its final movement. Every thread tightens at once. In space, the fleet is being torn apart. On the ground, the shield team is trapped. In the throne room, Luke is being pulled toward Rage. No one can save anyone else directly. Each group has to find its own way through. The battle on Endor turns when the Ewoks join the fight for real. They use traps, ropes, logs, fire, and sheer numbers to hit the Imperial ground forces from every direction. The Empire deserves to be beaten by the people it never bothered to respect. Han, Leia, and Chewbacca regroup with them and launch a second attack on the bunker. In space, Lando realizes the fleet cannot keep taking direct fire from the Death Star. The only chance is to hold on until the shield goes down and then fly into the station interior to strike the reactor from inside. Lando and Admiral Akbar keep the fleet alive through skill and nerve while waiting for Han Team to break the shield. Back in the throne room, the Emperor keeps tightening emotional pressure on Luke. He shows him the rebel fleet being destroyed and describes the ground battle failing. He wants Luke to feel helplessness harden into anger because anger is the doorway. Vader stands between them. When Luke finally ignites his lightsaber, it is not triumphant. It is the beginning of the Emperor plan working. The duel between Luke and Vader is very different from the one in the previous film. Luke is stronger now, more disciplined, but also more emotionally vulnerable because of what is at stake. Vader is not just testing him. He is reading him, looking for whatever will push him over the edge. When Vader senses Leia and Luke's thoughts and realizes she could be turned too, he makes the worst possible threat. That is what finally breaks Luke's control. He attacks with fury, drives Vader back, and cuts him down. For a brief moment, Luke does exactly what the Emperor wanted. He wins through rage. Then he sees Vader's damaged hand, mechanical and exposed, and understands what he is becoming. He looks at his own artificial hand and sees the path laid out in front of him. In the single most important choice of the trilogy, Luke steps away from it. He throws down his weapon and refuses to kill Vader. He tells the Emperor he will not become what the dark side wants him to be. This is the true victory of the movie. The Emperor responds with open violence. He attacks Luke with Force lightning, torturing him in front of Vader. Luke cannot fight back and will not surrender. He can only endure. Vader watches the son he was ordered to break now being murdered by the master he has served for years. This is where the redemption Luke believed in finally comes to life. Vader turns on the Emperor, lifts him, and throws him into the reactor shaft, killing the dark power that ruled the Empire. But that act costs him his life. The Emperor lightning and the damage around them leave Vader mortally wounded. Luke drags him to safety as the Death Star begins to collapse. Their final exchange is quiet and human. For the first time, Vader is no longer just the mask. He is Anakin Skywalker again, a broken father seeing his son with his own eyes. At the same time, the other battles finally turn. Han and the ground team destroy the shield generator. Lando and Wedge Antilles fly into the Death Star core and destroy the reactor. The fleet escapes as the station explodes. On Endor, the Imperial forces collapse. Across the galaxy, the Empire loses its center in one catastrophic chain of defeats. The ending balances celebration with mourning. On Endor, the rebels gather with the Ewoks around firelight and music. Han and Leia are together at last. Luke stands slightly apart because his journey has carried him somewhere the others cannot fully follow. He has won but not cleanly. He has lost his father at the moment he found him. Then he sees the spirits of Obi-Wan, Yoda, and Anakin watching from beyond, and the film closes with peace instead of triumph alone. Return of the Jedi works because it understands that the last victory has to be moral as much as military. The Death Star can be destroyed with ships and explosives. The Empire can be broken with strategy and courage. But the deeper question is whether hate will keep reproducing itself forever. Luke's answer is no. He defeats the Emperor not by becoming a better killer, but by refusing to let fear and anger decide who he is. By the end, Star Wars Episode 6 Return of the Jedi becomes more than the conclusion of a war. It becomes a story about mercy, redemption, and the idea that love can reach even the people who seem most lost. And when the celebration rises under the night sky of Endor, the victory feels earned because it was paid for in pain, loyalty, and one final act of grace.